What's up, ladies? Today, I want to talk to you about something that's going to help you stay so much more grounded and just like not losing your mind through the holidays. But honestly, this is a really important message for women to hear any time of year. So if like you're finding this in July, keep listening. It's not just going to help you stay more grounded. It's going to actually help you be way more consistent on your health journey or anything else that you're trying to tackle. But it might rub you the wrong way to hear it. I posted this on social media last week, and I was actually surprised that it did not ruffle more feathers than it did. So just please know that I'm saying all of this in love. But here's the one mindset shift that I think is so powerful for women to make, and it's that you are not actually responsible for anybody else's happiness. Hear that again, ladies, especially moving into the holidays. You are not responsible for anybody else's happiness. That includes your husband and even your children. So if you are a single woman who is like, whatever, Nikki, who cares? I don't even have kids. This pertains to all women because we are caregivers by nature, right? We want to do things for other people. We value being altruistic and helpful and caring, and we don't want to see other people suffering. So maybe you pour yourself into charities. Great. Maybe you help an elderly neighbor who doesn't have any family nearby. Awesome. Maybe you don't have kids at home anymore, but you have adult children, maybe even grandkids, right? And so you help them out a lot, or your own aging parents, or whomever it is. I'm going to speak about this in regards to like the mother child relationship because I think that it's where we feel the strongest drive to create happiness for another human being. But I don't want you to feel excluded from this conversation if you don't have kids. Okay. But there's my caveat with that. We as mama bears feel like we have to make our children happy. That's what being a good mom is, making them happy. Girl, keeping any human being on this planet happy 24/7 is literally an impossible task. Like you can't win that game. You cannot win at that task. So you're setting yourself up for failure from the jump. But I would argue that it's not even what's best for your kid. Okay. So a lot of times when we have this conversation with women, we take the approach of like, well, you should take care of yourself and your own needs because you're a person too, and you deserve it. And that is actually true, but I don't find it to be all that helpful because it kind of doesn't matter. Like, we're always, as moms, going to place the needs of our children above the needs of our own. So I want to take a different angle at this and be like, yeah, but you placing your children's happiness on a pedestal is actually not even good for them. It's just creating little monsters. So, in my opinion, the point of parenting and what makes you a good parent isn't that you always have like perfectly happy children. A child who is always happy and never disappointed and never told no isn't going to actually be a happy child as an adult. That's not a well-adjusted human who has just been placated all the time. And here's how this plays out, particularly with our health, both our physical health and our mental health, is that we're so focused on making sure that everybody around us is happy, we sacrifice what our own physical needs are. Okay, that's not great for them because they love you. Like, does your husband really want you to end up really unhealthy and having a heart attack and all of these things as you get older? Probably not. Do your kids want that? Well, they might not know if you have 7-year olds, but if you have adult children, they don't want that. They don't want a mom who can't actually come help them take care of the grandkids because they're too physically unwell to do it. So even if they are selfish, it doesn't serve them to have a mom who can't help them. But most of you are going to have adult children that actually love you and care about you and want you to be happy and healthy and all of the things, right? But here's the deal. We actually end up making poor choices for our children's health when we're only focused on keeping them happy. So, a really good example of this is food. I can't tell you how many women tell me it's hard for me to lose weight because nobody else in my house will eat healthy. And I get that. I do because when I started on my own health journey, we ate like trash before I got my act together, okay? Like absolute garbage. I was raised on garbage. And then I started raising my kids on garbage. It was processed food. Was working outside of the home. My husband was working outside of the home. We don't have a lot of time. And honestly, like junk food is just like what I also like. So when I started trying to clean up our food, it was a struggle because I don't even want to be eating the healthy food. But now I'm listening to my family complain about having to eat the healthy food, and I'm not making separate meals for everybody because I don't have time for that. And so sometimes it's just easier to not have the fight, right? I get that. But here's the other side of that coin. Your 5-year-old is not qualified to make the dietary decisions for the household. Okay? Just like your 5-year-old is not qualified to make the financial decisions for the household. Like, at some point, we have to put our foot down and be like, okay, but I'm the one running this ship. And so you might feel unhappy that I'm going to make you eat real food. But like, the kid can eat real food. So can the husband. Everybody will eat what's served. And it just is what it is. But like, we don't want to disappoint our kids. We don't want them to be unhappy. We don't want them to be uncomfortable. Especially if we're working outside of the home, we can feel really guilty if we're taking more time to ourselves, right? Because we already have this mom guilt that we're working outside of the home. And now it's like, yeah, but I'm also going to take time to work out. Like I'm already away from my kids. And I totally get that. I was a working mom. The struggle is real, okay? But here's what happens when we sacrifice our own health for the happiness of our kids. First of all, it's not modeling self care to them. So they're going to grow up and treat their bodies how we treat ours. They're going to grow up and treat their mental health and however, they're going to prioritize that, how they saw us do it. Children do not do what they're told to do. They do what is modeled for them. This is why parents who smoke have kids that smoke and, all of the things that we've already been told. And so if we think about it in terms of like, how do we want them to take care of their bodies when they're adults? You're not going to raise them on junk food and then tell them as adults that they need to eat healthier. And you might not be concerned about your child's cholesterol when they're like 3 years old, but we have to understand that like we're establishing their healthy behaviors now and we're modeling the types of boundaries that they're going to have for themselves. So imagine that you have a daughter. And this doesn't even matter if you don't have a daughter. You can imagine if you did. I don't have a daughter either, but I can imagine how I would want her to be treated in her own home. If you can't picture that, then picture your best friend even. Like, how do you want your best friend to be treated in her home? By her children, by her significant other, by her partner, and where do you want her to be prioritizing her own needs? So I think it's easy to talk about this in terms of like, well, if I had a daughter, because that throws in the mix that I may also have grandchildren. So am I saying if I have a daughter, I want her to be so selfish that like she doesn't even take care of her kids. She only takes care of herself. She only does what feels good for her. And she's not worried about her husband and she's not worried about her kids. Nope, that's not what I'm saying. There's not an either them or me. And I think we get this in our head. Either I can be happy and healthy, or my husband and my kids can be healthy and happy, but it can't be both, right? Well, if I put on the lens of like, I have a daughter, how do I want her to be as an adult woman who has kids? I want her to find that balance because yes, I want my grandchildren to be taken care of. Obviously, duh, they're my grandbabies out from what I've heard. I'm not there yet, but you just love them even more than your own kids. And then you also get to send them home. And it's like the best of both worlds. Like everybody I know who's having grandkids right now is just like freaking ecstatic, right? So of course I would want my adult daughter to take really good care of my grandkids. Does that mean that she has to put herself and her own needs on the back burner? I sure the hell hope not. Because honestly, I don't think that that's raising healthy, happy kids, anyways. I think it's raising assholes. Like, I don't want her to placate my grandchildren's every little desire. Here's why we do this. I think this is where the tough love part comes into this. We can say that it's because we just want what's best for our children. Honestly, I think it's because we can't handle how uncomfortable we feel when our children are discontented. And this is true for me. I'm calling myself out here too. We can say that it's because we don't want to have the fights. We're too tired to have the fights about what's for dinner. Or we can say that it's like because we just want them to be happy and we want to protect them and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, yeah, but isn't part of parenting teaching your children how to handle disappointment and how to learn that they don't always get their way and how to learn that like sometimes we have to do things for our body that aren't sitting around on the couch and eating chips? And is it really about them and what's best for them? Or is it about us and our discomfort as moms seeing our children suffer? I think that's probably a lot of times what it is. It's like we're uncomfortable. We don't like it when they're not happy. And so we want to make them happy. And it sounds like it's about them. It sounds like good parenting. I'm making them happy. Then it's like, eh, okay, but is that good parenting? So like if I remove myself from the situation and I think about my hypothetical daughter that I don't actually have and the hypothetical grandbabies that she's going to raise for me, no, I would want her to find the line between prioritizing her health because in doing so, she's going to have to establish boundaries in her home that are good for the relationship between her and her child. I don't want her to let my grandchildren think that they hung the sun, the moon, and the stars and race little narcissistic jerks. I want them to be like very well adjusted humans who know that their mom, my daughter, is also a human being who deserves love and respect and a healthy body and boundaries and all of those other things because that's also going to be modeled for them and because I want that for my daughter. But we don't think of ourselves through that same lens, right? We're like, it's fine if I don't have time to do anything that I need to do for my body because I'm taking good care of my husband and my kids. It's fine if my husband has time to go to the golf course 3 times a week, but I don't have time to get to the gym 3 times a week. And it's fine if I don't have time to prepare healthy meals for myself because the kids, they have to be in these sports 6 days a week. And who else is going to take them? And like it sounds like, okay, this is what good parenting is. But I'm going to question that. I'm going to push back and say, I don't really think that it is. I don't think that being the kids being in 6 sports 6 days a week and your husband getting to do whatever the F he wants and you working outside of the home 50 hours a week and then also being the only one who's working inside of your home another 20 hours a week and running everybody here and there and everywhere and you're not taking care of yourself. And when you do cook food, it's not even healthy food. It's food you don't even want to eat because you have picky eaters in your house because there was no boundaries established there. Like at some point in time, we have to just take back control of how we're running our own life and prioritize ourselves and our needs, not only because you deserve it, because you do. Because here's the other thing we think like there's going to be this magical point in time where like it's going to get easier, like the kids are going to grow into this new phase and it's going to make it easier to parent them or it's going to give us more time on our schedule. And so like when they're in diapers, we're like, okay, as soon as I get these kids out of diapers, like it's just going to be so much easier, right? But then the child now has a mouth and they can say no. So they're going to the bathroom on the toilet, but now they have like their own little personality, and you're dealing with that. And then you're like, fine, when they go to school, and I'm going to have more time. And then they go to school, and you still don't have any more time. You're like, how do I not have more time? But you don't. And then you're like, okay, well, when they get into high school and they're just more independent, except for then you turn into their cab driver. And then you're like, okay, well, when they go away to college, but when they go away to college, then your aging parents need you. And so literally somebody's always going to need you. Time is never coming. It doesn't get easier to work around any boundary conversations within your home because also if you've already laid the groundwork that like you just do whatever your family wants, your kids are going to go graduate, but you're still going to be in the house with this man that you're doing life with who has been conditioned for the last 20 years to think that he hung the sun, the moon, and the stars, then you should just make whatever he likes for dinner. And even if that's fried chicken and collard greens cooked in bacon grease, well, then you should just make whatever he likes for dinner. And even if that's fried chicken and collard greens cooked in bacon grease, well, then you should just make whatever he likes for dinner. And even if that's fried chicken and collard greens cooked in bacon grease, well, then you should just make whatever he likes for dinner. And even if that's fried chicken then by golly, that's what you're going to keep eating. And so it's like we're letting the desires of everybody around us dictate our health, and we're using this, but I'm being a good wife, but I'm being a good mother as the justification to do so. And I don't really find it to be a valid justification at all. That's the tough love piece of this. I actually find it to be the opposite. I don't think in a healthy marriage, let's take the kids out of the equation, partnership, whether it's a live-in boyfriend or girlfriend that you have or whatever, I don't think that like you sacrificing your health is the makings of a solid relationship. Like, if your significant other is really going to push back on you, then there's some communication that needs to happen about, like, well, what are your priorities? Why is this so important for you? Everybody in your house isn't going to get on board with your healthy behavior immediately, and you don't need to be a jerk about it, but you do need to be honest in voicing what you need and what your new boundaries are going to be. And I can't tell you what they should be for you. This is like something that like I work with my coaching clients a lot on. It's like finding like, well, how is this going to work in your household? What are the things that you're willing to do? What is your family willing to do? How can you guys meet in the middle so we're not just like disrupting the whole house and making everybody miserable? I'm not saying everybody has to be miserable and that you should just go do like a whole 180 and be like, sorry, family, this is how we're doing things now. Like, that's not going to go over, girl. There's a way to start implementing all of these things and keep the harmony. But ultimately, like, we're going to have to not be so hung up on everybody around us being happy 24/7 if we're going to keep our sanity and do anything positive with our body. So, why is this so important going into the holidays? Let me tie it back to that. Because the holidays bring out this desire to make every single person happy and fill their every whim, and perfectionism in women like no other time of year. I don't know what it is about the holidays and why we think that like we personally are responsible for making 31 days of magic happen for every human in our life in the whole month of December. Girl, you've watched too many Hallmark movies if you think that's how the holidays go for literally anybody. No, it's more like for most families, I think probably somewhere closer to like Christmas Vacation, National Lampoons, where everything goes wrong, or like The Family Stone. Freaking love that movie. That's like my favorite Christmas movie of all time, where it's just chaos. Like so much effed up things happen in that family in that movie, and it's like, yeah, that's actually what the holidays are about. It's not perfect gifts for every single person that they are like, this is the best gift I've ever received in my life. Okay, let's talk about gifts for a second. I think this is important. This is going to be a just total side tangent here, but what could you possibly get somebody every single year for the rest of their life that would top what you got them the year before? I mean, if you're filthy rich and money is no object, you still can't win that game, because then if you're filthy rich, I know you've been spoiling your people all year anyways, and they already have everything that they want. Now, for most of us, we're not filthy rich, and money is not of no consequence. And we all have a budget and things like this that we have to live within. But still, like we live in a first world country. Our kids and our family members and our friends, they pretty much have everything that they need. Like there really aren't needs that people aren't having met. And then wants, it's also still kind of hard. If my kids order themselves something, like when a package shows up to my house, because my kids still live with me in the month of December, I'm like, literally, what are you doing? Buying yourself anything right now? I keep asking you what you want for Christmas, and you say, I don't know, I don't need anything. And now boxes show up. You could have just asked me for that. But like consumerism, they're used to like getting what they want when they want it, right? Like all of us. And that makes us all impossible to buy gifts for. And so we're over here like, oh, I gotta get the perfect gift. And it's like the perfect gift doesn't even actually exist. So it's like, get people what you want to get them. Don't worry about it being the most magical thing because it's not the point of the holidays, anyways. If your love language is giving gifts, then give something that's thoughtful and from the heart and don't worry about it. If your love language isn't giving gifts, like mine is not, my friend is the best gift giver on the planet. Oh, she gets like everybody the best gifts. Like, even like when we go out for like my husband's birthday or something, I'm like, oh, Chelsea's gonna get him something way better than I did. But I don't care because she's really, really good at that. I'm more like, well, you're a young adult. You're trying to like make it in the world. Do you want me to just like Venmo you some cash for Christmas? Like, I'm lame. But it's something that they can use, right? So, like, we overthink the gifts, we overthink the decorations. Literally, who cares if you decorate or you don't decorate? And if you do decorate, does it need to look like Martha Stewart is hosting Snoop Dogg at her house for some epic Christmas party? No, it doesn't need to look like that. You ain't Martha Stewart. Calm the F down. Nobody's going to remember what your freaking Christmas tree looked like or what the wreath on the front door looked like. Like, nobody gives a shit about any of this. Nobody gives a shit about any of this. Literally, if they do, maybe you have Snooty Susie as a sister-in-law and she cares. Snooty Susie cares a lot. She'll be like, "Oh my gosh, did you see those centerpieces?" Well, then we don't really care about what Snoozy I can't say her name anymore. We don't care what she has to say. We don't care because she's an asshole. And you're not going to run your body into the ground and all of your sanity to keep Susie, the sister in law, from thinking that you're a failure because your Christmas wreath wasn't on point. If the cookies burn, girl, the cookies burn. Who gives a shit? If you burn the ham, have some backup have some backup pizzas in your deep freezer in case you ruin Christmas dinner because everything is closed. And then people will get fed. Literally, it'll be a laughing moment. If you can just learn to like laugh through all the perfectiony things that are about to enter your brain because it's December, and then realize like you get somebody something because you love them, you're not responsible for how they receive that gift. You can't make everybody happy, right? Like, you don't need to make 12 side dishes for dinner just because one kid wants potatoes and one kid wants stuffing and one kid wants mac and cheese and blah, blah. Make what you want to make. They will get fed. They are not going to starve. You are not a Michelin five-star restaurant. You're a mom. Like, we got to reel back on like thinking that like we're ultimately responsible for their happiness in regular life, but especially rolling into the holidays. You're not single-handedly responsible for anybody's happiness any time of year. You can't make it a magic Christmas. You can't. You can show love, but I don't personally believe that showing love means sacrificing yourself to show that love. That's not love. That's something toxic. I don't know what it is, but it's not love. Like, if we want to show love to our children and to our family members, I personally think we do that by also loving ourselves and having boundaries, taking care of ourselves, letting people around us be disappointed. It doesn't mean that you walk around like a jerk on purpose, making people unhappy just so that they can learn the life lesson of like, well, you need to be disappointed sometimes because that's real life. Okay, don't turn into that psycho. But like natural life disappointments of like, okay, so your grandma got you socks for Christmas. Cool. This is a great teaching moment about how to show gratitude, even if you don't love the thing that you opened. It's fine. Don't be a jerk, right? So I'm going to encourage you to this time of year for sure, but any time of year, stop tying your own happiness and your own sense of accomplishment, your own sense of worth, your own identity into the happiness of other people. That's not even how happiness works. Happiness doesn't even come from situations. You, when you get a promotion, when you get engaged, when you get a really thoughtful gift that you love, even when people win the lottery, like there's studies on this that like a happy event doesn't increase your baseline happiness. What it does is everybody has a baseline happiness. So most people who consider themselves to be reasonably happy people will rate their baseline happiness around a 7. And that's really great. You don't want to be a 10 all the time anyways, because then how like would you ever like nothing would be exciting. If you were just a 10 all the time and you're just like, "Oh, like everything's magic." Like nothing could ever even get you excited, right? But so anyways, you have something cool happen to you. It will bring your happiness up from whatever your base is. So let's say your base is starting at a 7 and you get to an 8, a 9, a 10, whatever it is. The grandness of the thing that made you happy does not determine how long you stay at that elevated happiness. You just naturally fall back down to your base. Isn't that interesting? So, what does that mean in terms of us trying to make other people happy? Well, you can't long term because nobody can long term outrun their baseline level of happiness, anyways. Uh, there's intrinsic things that you can do to work on, like your sense of contentment and purpose, and all of these other things that we sort of equate to happiness in our brain. But like you as an external person to that human being's brain are not going to change their baseline level of happiness by doing things for them and placating them and never telling them no. It literally doesn't work that way. And also, part of the human experience in even being able to experience happiness is in experiencing unhappiness. We have to have a paradox of emotions, like it's a range, right? Like to appreciate joy, you have to experience sorrow. To experience happiness, you have to experience a little misery. Like, it's just the human condition. You can't coddle everybody out of that. In doing so, is going to drive your health of your body, the health of your mind, and actually the happiness and the health of the people who you claim that you're doing this for, all into the ground, all in the name of trying to make everybody else perfectly happy. So don't do that to yourself in December. Don't do it to yourself any other time of year either. But like, let's just roll through the holidays a little lighter, a little bit more like, you know what? Situations will be what they are. Family members are either going to fight or they're going to get along. And the dinner's either going to turn out great or it's not. And they're either going to love the thing that I got them or they're not. And like, it's all fine because at the end of the day, like this is a moment in time. And I'm not saying don't make memories and that the holidays don't matter. I don't want to get all, what is that? Philosophical point of view where like I don't want to get all nihilistic and be like none of it matters. No, it does matter. But like how much gravity are you putting on how much it matters? Like let's like keep that in check and you're gonna actually enjoy the holidays a lot more and then you're actually gonna be able to like take good care of yourself through the holidays as well. Like you can't put all of your own physical needs on the back burner to run around like a crazy person placating everybody else's desires and trying to make the Hallmark perfect movie and driving your body into the ground. And then you start January in this huge depressed rut of like, great, I did it again. I gained 10 freaking pounds over the holidays, like I always do, like I said I wasn't gonna do. And I'm hungover, like emotionally, not just from the booze, but like I have this emotional hangover of like trying to be everybody's everything as if I am freaking Santa Claus and have actual literal magic coming out of my body. Girl, you are amazing. I love you, but you ain't Santa Claus. You ain't Jesus. You are you and you are awesome, but you don't have magic coming out of your fingertips and you're not responsible for creating these picture perfect nonsense Hallmark versions that don't actually exist of the holiday. So if you got to turn off the Hallmark channel this year, maybe you should do that. Maybe I'm onto something with that. I feel like rom-coms and romantic movies have sort of like ruined women's mind about what to expect in like healthy relationships. maybe part of our problem with Christmas and what we do to ourselves for the sake of the perfect holiday is actually Hallmark's fault. All right. Anyways, now I'm just rambling. I digress. I want you to have a very happy, healthy, memorable, as magical as it can be, but like with realistic expectations, sort of December.